and turn on my don't bother me mode. So that doesn't happen. Right before I can push it. Here it comes. Hello, everybody. Waiting a few minutes for everybody to join us. Just two squares today, just us ladies.
Just the ladies.
But I think, in a way, I think it's kind of a bigger topic for just two people to talk about, which is kind of cool, though.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of go over some haunted land areas. So not just the building on the lands, like the land itself. And Emily, you've got a little more knowledge on this than I do because you've been doing some more research and watching of things.
Yes. You can always count on me to watch a series from beginning to end in just like a couple days. So the show that like really kind of inspired this was The Mysteries of Blind Frog Ranch. So that's on Discovery Plus, and then I think if you have Max, you can watch it too. But that was a really, really cool show. It's kind of reminiscent of like Skinwalker Ranch, but a little bit more like first of all, just the people in it in general are really funny. Like they're very much like, ranchers, and like the way they talk is funny and just like appealing in general. But they're a lot more in the Blind Frog Ranch show, like actually adventurous. Like they'll, free dive in like underwater caves and do like some really cool stuff. Whereas Skinwalker Ranch, they kind of just do more of like the testing and stuff like that. But both of them, the point there is that the land is very unhappy that people are there in general. So lots of random and crazy things going on, just like in the Uinta Basin in general. But a lot of people think it has to do, hi Kathy, with like ultra dimensional and Sandy, ultra dimensional beings, or maybe that's like on a ley line. They've noticed a lot of like electromagnetic activity. So I just kind of want to talk about what causes that stuff and see if anybody listening has like any insight, or if they, have experienced something like that as well, or if you've seen the Blind Frog Ranch show, because I'm always looking for people to chat with about that. So.
I feel like sometimes maybe in the store we should have little bitty name tags. It's like, what's your topic for the day to come talk to me? And yours would always be,
Yep.
the ranch.
Yep. It's so funny because like really just ghosts in general. It's like someone comes in and they'll be like, I've got a haunting, and they're like, Emily, you come over here,
Hold up, I got somebody.
Yeah, that's my favorite topic. Could go figure, but yeah, the Blind Frog Ranch show is super cool. There's a lot of like talk about the animal mutilations that happens. In one of them, it was like all the blood will be drained from the animals. There will be like there was drag marks. Like I wish I could pop it up on the screen to like show people how crazy this was. But they actually had like a which doesn't have to do with the land, but it's just super cool. But they had this like snake creature. Okay. I don't even know, like in the pond out there. And the one guy had gotten a picture of it. So they brought in like a really well-known scientist to test the water. Hello. And to test the water and see like what is in there, right? And they tested it and it came back like 20% snake and 80% prehistoric like animal. Like, so this snake creature, they believe had been living in the underwater caves. They opened up the entrance and it came out. So they ended up finding drag marks like 3 feet long. I don't know, like thick drag marks all the way. And there's this deer with its neck snapped, not eaten, nothing, just like killed. And so this all goes into it because they're kind of talking like, okay, is this an ultra terrestrial being? Is this like that snake weird creature that they have? Like, so that's like part of it, but it was just like really crazy because there's so many different facets like going on there. And I feel like that's kind of what happens in areas like that. Like you get weird activity in the land itself, but then also just around it, like weird weather happenings, weird, readings on certain scientific meters and stuff like that. So it's just super interesting.
Right.
Yeah, with the snake creature. I know when I saw that, I was like, no, no, no.
Yeah, I don't know what would be more scary, right? Because I think out in that area is the legends of like the Moon-Eyed people and the Ant people from some of the native legends.
Mhm.
Can't talk this morning. I need more coffee. So I'm like, I don't know what would be more scary to run into, just kind of taking a walk on your land, like a giant ant person or a giant snake.
Yeah, like a prehistoric snake too. So it's like half dinosaur, half snake.
Yes.
No thanks.
Hello, all of our friends coming in. So it's just Emily and I. Hey, Mystery.
Oh.
And so we're going over like haunted land area, and Emily's been like super focused on Snakeosaur.
I love that.
Kind of like Western US, kind of like around that Skinwalker Ranch. And that was this ranch that you've been kind of following up with. Is it in the same state or state?
Yeah, it's actually only a few miles away from Skinwalker Ranch. So they believe that those cave systems like connect. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, because I've watched both shows, I feel like Blind Frog Ranch is even more, like has even more activity than Skinwalker Ranch from just what I've seen. I mean, they've brought in historians too, because so they believe that the Spanish, right, went to the Aztecs and stole a bunch of gold from them, right? And then they believe that the Aztecs left, and they have been trying to find where they went to and stashed all of this gold that they tried to take away from the Spanish. So like in the Blind Frog Ranch, they actually found Spanish coins. They found like gold and stuff. Now that's when it gets kind of crazy, is because they believe that possibly the Aztecs had done something to the land or whatever it was, that basically prevented people from being able to get to this treasure. So some people believe that all of this activity that's happening is actually like preventing people from getting into the caves, like for a reason. I think it is near Area 51. I don't know how close, but they're all in they're close by, and they're in like that western area. So the ones I'm talking about are Utah, but and I think Area 51 is in Nevada, but still very close by. That whole area really just like I want to get out there is really what it is. But yeah.
So I have another tab open, tab like 47. Researching this one. Are you familiar with this one, Emily?
I am not as familiar with that, but that sounds very scary. Not into giant, I don't think. That's funny.
So, Nevada's Paiute spoke of a race of statuesque red-headed cannibals who attacked and ate members of the surrounding tribes.
I like how they were okay though. They're like, we're fine, but the people around us, like, go ahead.
It said eventually the Paiutes destroyed them in Lovelock Cave in 1911. Miners discovered the remains of giant red-headed mummies and thousands of artifacts.
Wow.
Well, that's in your area, Emily. So I need you to expand.
I'm gonna have to
research there.
I think it's so interesting how many weird things that we've found, and it's just like not common knowledge, and people just don't really talk about it that much, or it's seen as like a conspiracy theory, like that there's actual remains found, and people are still like, I don't know.
Is it though?
Right. Like it's crazy to me, but that's really interesting. I'll have to look at that too. But yeah, the Blind Frog Ranch, and it got its name because what happened was they'd opened up part of the cave system, and all of these frogs came out that were blind and albino. So because they were removed from the sun for so long, they couldn't see, they'd adapted to the dark, and they didn't have any pigment. And then it makes you think, how long have they been under there? Have all of these frogs just been like reproducing and creating this you know, sunlight resistant frog race. I don't know. So
It's funny because the little bit of time twice that I lived in the Tennessee area to go into the one, cave, Mammoth Caves, like there are fish and stuff there that have eyes that are like grown over because it's so dark they don't see, sunlight. So
yep.
evolution at its, finest example right there.
And
So
apparently there was a dino snake in there too, a snakeosaur.
A dinosaur, yeah, snakeosaur. Chair comes up with all the coolest words for it.
That was amazing.
I don't remember what it was last week that she's like, it's a this. It was like talking in circles.
Oh, I can't.
For the shaman thing was Chair. What was it?
That's funny.
Yeah, cavefish are that way. They're eyeless. Because they don't need it. They don't need eyeballs. Whoop! It's a wall. I hit it.
Yeah, exactly. Bonk.
Roomba fish.
Like me in the store.
Just bumping in it. Emily, I didn't break it. Okay. So like now I have to ask you, because you mentioned like the animal mutilation. I also want to say out that way because like Area 51 is out there. Like, how do you start differentiating between what could be prehistoric versus like natural like land elementals versus like here come the aliens?
Right. And that's what's so hard is how do you research something like that? Right. Like it's obviously they can tell that the animal died in some way that is not normal, right? Because, and the thing that's crazy, what's happening with all these animal mutilations is they're dying, but they're not being eaten. They're not, like what was the point? Why are you killing these animals if you're not like consuming them or whatever? And it's not like a predatory thing, like a territorial thing, because it's like it's a deer, or a cow or whatever. So it's kind of crazy, like how all of this happened. So it'll be either like neck snapped, drained of blood. The one, it had like this goop all over it. Like, I don't know any better word to describe it than goop. There's been where their skin's like blue, like it's really weird. And they'll bring in like, professionals to like test the bodies and do all this stuff. And they're like, I couldn't tell you why this animal passed away. They've seen animals just pass away from stress. Like literally they're so stressed out because something's out there that they just die. It's kind of crazy. And with Blind Frog Ranch, so they had, it's a new, I'm going to butcher this because it's super scientific and I'm not, but I'm going to try my best. But, there were people who kind of found a way to like map energy. That might have been what it is, but it wasn't black. It was like a weird green, goopy slime. Very yucky. Yucky goop. I know. I hate here. I feel so bad about that too. In the animals pass. But so they did something where, okay, this is kind of going into what I'm talking about with the portals and stuff. So a lot of people believe that in these cave systems, it is portals and like easier for ultra dimensional beings to pop in. We've talked about this before, but some people believe like Bigfoot and, skinwalkers, even aliens and stuff are actually not they're like from another dimension. And that's why they're found on these ley lines or places where there's really weird energetic stuff going on. So there was this team that uses this new technology and they were using it to map space, actually, like astronomy stuff. But then they used it on this ranch to kind of see like what was going on with the energy and everything. So they mapped it and they found this one area where it's like two different types of energy basically like right by each other. And there's like this fracture line. They said that they pretty much, and again, I'm not using the right terminology, but the guy basically said, he's like, there's no reason for this to be here. The only other place I've seen things like this happening is literally a black hole, like in space. And you're in this random place in Utah that has the same energetic components as a black hole. So you have to think like, what's going on there? Was that always there? And that's what drew the, these indigenous people there that maybe had more of a connection? Was this created by something that these indigenous people did because they clearly have more of a connection just to the way that like energy in the world works? In my opinion, there's ancient wisdom that we've lost. But it is really interesting, like chicken or egg, right?
Well, I mean, there are like ruin sites that have been excavated now, like down in South America, where it's a kind of like recess or a door carved into a wall that, the local medicine people, the local knowledge people are like, yeah, that's where we go when we want to travel to here or here. And so then the narrator is like, pretty much, are they just getting high and tripping while staring at this wall? Or are they actually able to like molecularly shift and like go somewhere?
Yeah.
So, it's always been like, which could it be?
Yeah.
There's in many of these books back here, like the Melchizedek books, like it talks about like how the knowledge that we gain as a race and then we advance, and then it's almost like we go to sleep and forget part of it. And then we circle back around and we kind of relearn and we get a little bit farther and then we forget a little bit. So I'm like, well, maybe those people did know. And maybe where those doors are placed hit a specific energy spot, so it helps that become easier.
100%.
I don't know.
It makes sense to me. I mean, because a lot of those indigenous people did like actually live in the caves, right? So just like you said, there was the door there, but then they had at Blind Frog Ranch, there's like all these tunnels. There's even areas like so basically there was an area that was like all like charcoal, and they realized this was where they were doing like all this cooking and like smelting and stuff. They found all these ancient like things, like, and there are people that are actually doing like the carbon dating and stuff. So it's not just them being like, oh, like, this is ancient. And then it ends up being, just like someone from 20 years ago. They did all of the research on this, and they kind of assumed that the Aztecs had went into the caves to basically hide from the Spanish. So it's like they would retreat back in there. And they had set up all these like booby traps. It's so crazy that like, okay, I try and get into the cave to get to the treasure from this way, and it floods with water. Like you move something and it either floods or something crumbles down. It's like they had all of these plans for how to protect this gold, and it's just kind of crazy. Like, and then it is too, like energetically, there's all this stuff going on as well at this place. Like I said, where the animal mutilations, weird energetic readings. In Skinwalker Ranch, they had went to like dig, and the one guy had like this, I don't even know how to describe it, but he got this like giant lump on his head. I don't know, that he went to the hospital. No one could explain why he had it. And they said it was reminiscent of like radiation poisoning or something, like an injury he had gotten. Like, it's crazy. So there's got to be something going on. And I even remember you telling me in like Arizona, because you're going down to Tucson, that like feels weird out there. Like, I think there is just a different feeling.
Yeah. Like it still kind of felt like home last year, but it was this weird feeling where as soon as the sun went down, like it felt predatory, the whole land. And it wasn't like, ooh, there's creepy neighbors next door. It's like, no, there's something in the dark. And I'm not usually one, like, yeah, I'll come in and maybe lock the door at night because too many true crime stories, right? But I'm like, lock the door, pull the shades, like block any way of seeing. And I'm like, is it because I'm here by myself for a week? And I'm like, no,
you don't strike me as a scared person. Like, it's a feeling you have, right? So
we're gonna stay in here, and let that cycle. But then like first thing in the morning, I'm, and so Arizona's like 2 hours behind. I'm an early riser anyway. So when I'm getting up there, it's like 4 a.m. and the sun is barely, and then it feels fine. So it was literally like, as soon as that sun goes down, something, And,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like those old stories of like, you get inside when the sun
Yep.
goes down. And I'm like, since when? Of all the years, suddenly now. But in, kind of asking around and you always talk to the Airbnb
Yeah.
neighbors. And they're like, oh yeah, they're building this up and they're doing that. And I'm like, so they're going around and here come humans and we're tearing up stuff. We're building stuff. We're moving stuff. And I'm
Yep.
like, oh, okay. So the land is literally pissed.
Yeah.
And, I'm Fallout. I'm like, I didn't build anything. I like it here. But it's like, so what? You're human.
Right. I don't discriminate. Like you did.
Right.
Your
Right.
kind did it. I don't care.
Oh, so Mystery got to actually go to Rod, so you felt weak. That's interesting. Hey you guys.
Hello.
Yeah,
We've
right.
been
And human trafficking. Which
Yeah.
I was always surprised to find out how bad Cleveland is compared to other places.
It
Cleveland
seems
and
like
Akron.
anything bad, we're just on a list. Like I don't.
We are the new Florida, and I hate
Yeah.
it. And so like Sandy came down a week after I was already there. And so, but she had never been down there before, then, but she was even like, it doesn't feel right, and I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, so Sandy, see, if you were coming with me, you wouldn't have to worry about going outside and smoking after dark now.
Yeah.
Karen's like, that's my next trip this year to New Mexico. Have fun and take pictures and let us see and let's talk about it.
You know what? Aliens really scare me though. I'm not gonna like ghosts and stuff. Okay, but like there's something about an alien, and we've talked about this. I just like, really don't.
You found
like
Emily's line in the sand.
Yeah, like I don't like it. Like it's so like Roswell and stuff. Like I would go just to see it and everything. Same with like Area 51, but like. Well, obviously I can't go in, but you get the idea. Like interested in it.
Oh, that's a cute little emo.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and like there was a fire pit, and we were like, nope.
Nope. Yeah, do you want to draw attention over here?
No, we're not be like, here we are. Nope. And normally, like when I'm down there, like other Airbnb, host, whatever, because it's kind of warm all the time compared to us, right? So they almost always have a fire pit, and they're like, here's the wood, here's this, and that was like one of the first years where I'm like,
yeah, I don't think so.
nah, don't feel the need to be out here. I don't care if we have light. Like no, now we're just sending up a signal. Like
right.
It was just really weird, and I spent most of my time in the evening kind of like, why, but it's all in that area, of that country or of our country. So I'm like, well, humans are doing shitty things to one another, and we're going around and tearing up stuff,
right?
And,
anytime with the digging, the remodeling, messing with the land, and that's how it is with the ranches too. They've noticed every time they dig or try to do something like that, like it sets everything else off. Like they really, really don't like it. And there are just areas that the land is just not somewhere that people need to be inhabiting. You've seen it on the paranormal shows, whatever, where, they're like, no, nobody needs to be here. This isn't really great for living people. And, there are times too where you can leave out offerings, like in the one Paranormal State episode I was just watching. It was native land, and a lot of their horses and stuff. Sorry, Chris Burke, if you're watching, because I know these are your fave animals. But there were horses that were like dying from these weird reasons. Like they didn't understand why. They were young, whatever, and all this other stuff was going on. And so the elder of that native tribe, they suggested planting a cherry tree or planting like fruit trees and stuff on the land and kind of giving it as like an offering and being like, this is for you. I'm taking care of the land. So, sometimes there are options to kind of make friends, I guess, with the land spirits that are there. Yeah, but other times, no.
So Facebook, sorry, we can't see your name. It's like, didn't Marianne say something about aliens interacting with you when you were there? So not this year as much. It was a year or two before that. And that particular year, I was staying in like a teeny tiny, this is where like creative photography, right? So the Airbnb pictures made this place look a lot bigger than it was. It was like a tin can. The gentleman who owned it, nice as can be, he and his family, wife and little kids, adorable. I was just like, good angles there, sir. You got me. But it was like way out on the outskirts, almost like up towards the building. So like Wi-Fi was like spotty, like, you know, and there were times where at the end of the evening I would sit outside and would be reading and it would be like, oh, time to go inside. Not because of like the feeling that I had last year, but it was like you weren't as much in the city. So javelinas, scorpions were more like, it's pitch black, you know, out there in the desert at night. So I'm like, yep, time to read my book indoors, because what's around my feet right now that I can't see until I turn on this light, and I'm not going to turn on the light. So, but there were these trees, or I think they were trees, maybe cactus that kind of like made like almost like these little portal doors, you know, those moon doors that you sometimes see in forests. And I would sit there and I would purposefully meditate into them. And I'm like, so maybe I created my own alien problem that time. But last year was more of like the whole land felt weird. And it was one of the first years leaving where that sadness of like having to leave wasn't as prevalent. Like in previous years, it was like I was leaving my best friends behind. Now I was kind of like, yeah, bye guys, see you later.
Yeah, like I'm done.
Yeah, like I'll catch you in a year. Mysteries like Garden of the Gods and Mesa Verde both have this vibe. Like when I get out of the car, it feels like very low bass tone. Yeah, there is resonance, and if you're
it's like a thrumming. Yes, that's exactly a really good way to describe it. I felt like that in Appalachia. So like West Virginia, we were riding dirt bikes and stuff like that in the mountains. So West Virginia, and it was like the Hatfield McCoy area. And honestly, I more liked, I would have been fine just hiking. I don't really care about the gal ride a dirt bike, but I just really liked being outside. Whenever we got off the bikes and we're like walking around, like it definitely was a feeling of like, it feels strange. It feels old. I felt like I kind of belonged there, even though it was still uncomfortable. But even like my friends who are not witchy or into this stuff by any means were like, oh, it feels a little bit like weird out here, you know? Feels like people watching you. Which it's like, is it just because you feel so small because you're in, you know, miles and miles and miles of woods up in the mountains, or is there actually something going on, you know?
There could be. I mean, and it could be animal, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there were bears for sure. So, which, I mean, they mainly, when you're on the trails, they leave you alone because the bikes are so loud. But yeah, aliens are more scary.
They're great for you.
They are. I don't care. Like, not interested.
And she's like, there is the Nevada Triangle near Area 51 where nearly 2,000 planes have gone missing, which makes me wonder a phenomenon in the area over it's 51 taking them down. You know, and what's funny is there is around, I think it's closer to Tucson. And if Lori was chatting, I'd be like, Lori, was it? Because she lived down there for a little while. But there's like a plane graveyard where as planes are retired out of service, they just get parked over here in the desert. You know, and I'm like,
I ever heard one, right?
Yeah. And Mysteries like, and there's a similar one in Alaska. So we might have to do some.
Weren't me and you and Sandy talking about that? Because there was a documentary called The Alaska Triangle, and she's like, but it covers all of Alaska. And I was like,
it's a whole darn state.
Like, if it's all of Alaska, it's just Alaska. It's not the Alaska Triangle. But yeah, I mean, that's interesting. And then you wonder, like, okay, is it something, again, like the electromagnetics messing with, you know, the electronics in the plane? Like, what's going on? How are these things connected? And why are we not researching it more? Like,
yeah,
you know, we're just okay with the fact that, like, there's certain areas that just.
If you don't know about it, it won't come get you, right?
Yeah. We'll just
Don't make eye contact. Right, Chris? There's a lot of dangerous, creepy crawlies that come out at night there. And see, and that was like a couple years ago where I was like, yep, time to get up and away off the flat ground. But last year it was definitely like, I'm more afraid of what I can't see and what I feel right now than the scorpion that might be crawling around outside on the ground.
Yep. And I always say just trust your instincts with that.
Yeah.
If you feel like something's wrong, just listen to it.
Yeah, Chris, because you go down to New Mexico sometimes, right? You've got family down there. So yes, now I quickly read that and was like the Davis Mothman Air Force, not Mothman. We do have a Discord. We haven't done a whole lot with it. It's on our list of things to do. We get excited, like we're gonna do this, and then things. So, yeah, I will find that address for you real quick.
I would love that though, because I'd love to be able to chat with all of you who watch and listen. So
yeah, trust the military investigates more than what they say. Yeah. What are they really looking into versus like, look at this over here. Look where their attention's going. True. And Sandy's like, going from loud bikes to no noise can be shocking.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. So it could have just felt weird to me because, after hearing like the obnoxious dirt bikes and stuff, like then it was quiet and calm and we're all just sitting around,
right.
It was very cool. I would definitely like to go back there just for camping and stuff and probably bring my little one and, not do the bikes as much because it's dangerous too. Like you really could just ride off a mountain on accident. So.
Well, it's funny. Like my grandmother, when her husband retired out of Ford, up there in Baumhart, where it's like you either go into early retirement or you move to Kentucky, right, to that plant. So he took early retirement. And so they ended up moving to where his family up in the middle of mountains, nowhere. And, it's one of those, like some of those roads, like the road is barely wide. And it's like 1.5 cars wide. So there's another one coming this way and you're this way. You better hope that you're meeting where it's wide enough because there's no guardrail.
That happened. It was terrifying.
And so, she's like, we need to come visit. I'm like, we need to come off the mountain.
Yeah. Because they have it's really dusty. So they have these water trucks that come and like wet down the area. So it's not so dusty. I don't know. But I'm not, the town we had to drive through in general was scary. Okay. Wasn't a great area. Pretty dilapidated. It was like crazy to see the amount of like broken down and abandoned houses, just half of it falling off the mountain and so nuts. But one of the roads, it was like a 1-lane road and we're in this big truck, with a trailer with all of these bikes. And then there's this big water truck coming and we're like, like, oh my gosh. So it was scary, things are different out there for sure. Want to go back definitely, but make it a little bit more spooky and not so much about the dirt bikes and stuff.
Sorry, I'm like trying to get logged into Discord on the desk. I'm like, oh, mystery is on our Discord, and I'm just now seeing your message. I'm sorry, hon. Like,
we suck.
I have so many things on my plate all the time.
No, of course,
all of them. It's insane. And this is where I wish Brooke was loaded on. Because she's got that address. She's like, bam, in the
really
chat.
Good with that.
Brooke, where's Brooke?
I'd like to hear though, while we're kind of looking, like if anybody else has certain spaces, like it doesn't even have to be out west, doesn't even have to be in this country, but just where it was like a really weird feeling of the land itself. So not the buildings, but just the area that you're in, like doesn't feel right. Because it does seem to happen too in a lot of like rural areas. Actually, one of the places that feels like that to me is here in Ohio. It's like Mansfield area. And I don't know if it's the prison or what, but like every time I'm in Mansfield, I feel weird. I feel like there's that whole area has a whole lot going on. I know there was a lot of indigenous people there, so like could be that, but just feels really weird. And I noticed too, which is like funny, but every time I'm driving through Mansfield, it's raining or it's like terrible weather, and it'll just be in Mansfield. Like it makes no sense. It's always when my GPS decides to stop working too, like the same area. It's storming. There's green tornado clouds behind me, and I'm like outrunning it. So maybe that's my reason for feeling that way about me.
I think it was last year. Nope, year before. I made my son come to help at the Mansfield, right? Because he's normally all into paranormal, and I'm like, dude, it's the prison. Come on.
We gotta go, right?
And there were tornado warnings that Sunday. The Saturday, I think you were like there vending or working, doing your thing.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you were on the sale block, but we were where it was flooding into the prison. We were picking up stuff and shoving it into the cells to keep everything from getting wet.
Yeah.
And I'm crazy. Like, I know you're rehabbing, but how is your drainage? Where's that on your list of things to upgrade?
There's just like a pipe, and there's just water just pouring out of the pipe, and everyone's watching. Like,
I'm like,
it added the spooky vibe for sure. But yeah, that was, and I think that was like one of the times where I was like, where it's like raining and crazy, and then it's like anytime you even just pass through Mansfield, like everywhere else is fine, but that area. And it's funny because it'd be like perfect if Richie was on here, because that's kind of his wheelhouse because he lives in that area. But just in general, all out there, there's a lot going on. So and it's kind of close by like Mohican too, which I feel that way about Mohican. I feel like there's a lot of like energy there. We talked about like Landall's Mohican Castle and how there's stuff going on there. And there's a really cool little cemetery close by there that me and Brandon had went and like left offerings and stuff like that for, because there's a lot of like child spirits and stuff, which I'm assuming because of, you know, illnesses and things like that, you know, we didn't have cures or vaccines and stuff for. But yeah, I don't know how many of you are local, but if you are, its own weather bubble. Yes, that's exactly how I wanted to explain it, because it makes no sense to me. Like
right, we need a fundraiser to go to all the places that we all want to go to. Somebody start that, because like we want to go to Ireland, you know, because it's like also like, so the Thursday mornings at 10 to 11 a.m. We do the shaman talk, and every now and then we get a little bit into it. And so now also it's like, maybe we go do shamanism in Ireland and we go see Chair, and then maybe we head down south and we go see, you know, Sean, and maybe and like all the places.
Gotta lead on tour.
I feel like we need a double-decker tour bus to move
I
around.
would love that. I'm down.
Yes, and it's like anytime I had to work there was a monsoon. And
it doesn't have to be raining anywhere else. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So
Chair's like, I got the castle booked. I'm like, well,
so cool.
Hello. The Rookery gave me a bad feeling of being right.
Where's
I haven't. Is that like up in one of the turrets of the prison, maybe? I walk around a whole lot because I'm manning the table. So, and I was going to meet up with one of the organizers because she's like, something's not right with part of the land. I want you and Hank to come down, and like nobody's schedule would line up. And what's funny is because Hank has been down there before, and he goes, yeah, it's not quite on the prison. It's like nearby. And he's like, you go down. And funny enough, I think it's like this like recession or even cave-like, you know. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't feel good. I'm like, ooh, let's go. He's like, only you would be the one that's like, let's go look it in the face.
Yep. It's not right. I want to be in there. Like,
let's talk about why you're so angry. Why are you mad at us humans? I'm mad at them too. It's okay. Have a beer. Like
I'm not one of them. I don't associate with them. Like,
right. Like, I'll sit at your lunch table and talk crap about them too.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Let's see. Right. Yeah. Fix my server. Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, what happened to all the things? Like, it must have updated. I never clicked OK. So I'm going to have to spend time like looking at that.
Oh, with Discord, the Discord
Yeah, I
stuff,
was gonna say, of course, desktop looks different than phone, and
naturally.
yeah, and I'm like, dang it. Um, have we heard of the M Cave? No. No, what is the M Cave? Do tell.
Yeah. I'll
Oh,
look
it's local Geauga County, the Rookery. All right, Emily, do your thing. Go down that squirrel hole of the
I'm gonna
Rookery.
have to, huh?
I expect a full report when I show up tomorrow. But you're off tomorrow, Friday. So
Geauga County.
48
Okay, I'm
hours.
looking it up too. Ooh, it looks creepy. I like it. Chagrin River. Oh, it's by a railroad. That makes sense too, because that's another one of those things where crossroads, like liminal spaces, things like that tend to have a lot more going on. I noticed too, like waterways, water underneath, things like that. So that's what's always kind of funny to me about the prison and like Mansfield is like it's always raining, right? And wet, and the water is that conductor of like the spiritual activity too. So we think that's kind of funny, but the Rookery.
So Chris is like, there's a tiny Civil War graveyard on Johnson Island, and it feels really weird. I think Greg has wanted to do like an event out there. And I want to say, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, if like you've got to do a ferry and the ferry only holds like 5 people at a time. And so I'm like, that's a pain in the butt, Greg. Pick another spot. I've taken some pictures there years ago and got really weird light. Ooh. Look at these. Kathy says, so there's a small town in Mansfield vicinity. Don't know the name. My grandson, when he was little, saw a ghost of what we were thinking was a soldier on the side of the road.
Yeah.
You know, way back in my younger years, was dating a gentleman that was going to school down in that area. In one of my drives after work, I just remember like coming around this corner and the guardrail, because there was like a little bit of a drop off. And part of this drive was like 511 down towards Mansfield. Because I lived in the country at the time. And like as I was coming up, I was startled because it looked like there was a guy sitting on the guardrail. And it was that feeling as like you're going around a corner and all of a sudden there is somebody and sitting on that guardrail. And I remember like I jerked the car because there was somebody, and your automatic reaction is to move away.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit. And then was like, is he okay? And I turned around and looked. There was nobody sitting on the guardrail, and he was like sitting upright, had the one foot like on the guardrail, one on the ground, and was kind of leaning forward. So it wasn't like.
Yeah. And you saw him clear enough to even know how he was sitting and stuff so clearly. Like,
and then he's not, and I'm like, oof, okay, we're just going to keep driving.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah,
well, that just happened.
Yeah. Mansfield area is crazy when it comes to the activity. Also too, like Hocking Hills area has a whole lot going on. I know they say Old Man's Cave is haunted out there. I didn't really get that experience. I felt, I didn't think that was haunted, but around there's somewhere, it's the Moonville Tunnels. So that is supposedly really haunted. And apparently there's like a old cemetery near there too. So that's on my list. I'm gonna have to, of course, like I have all the energy to go to all these places when it's so crappy and cold out, and then it's gonna be like warm out, and so I'm like trying to plan some areas that I want to go visit when it's actually not freezing. So I mean, it's not so bad today though.
Of like, woo, it's like 40.
Yeah, we're like, wow, it's warm. Yeah. But I wish you all could see too. Yeah, Ohio is weird.
We carry Debbie's cards in store.
Oh, okay. How cool.
She's local. Yeah. Yeah, Ohio is weird. We are the new Florida.
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty much, yeah. One and the same. I wish y'all could see it too, the ones that aren't local. It is so foggy and creepy today. I love it. The weather here it makes no sense, like at all.
Oh, hey, and Karen's got descendants in Ireland to get a castle book. So between Karen and Chair, like Ireland's going to be taken care of. We just need to get there. We'll have to like mystery. What is this M Cave?
Yeah, because now I'm like, I'm interested.
And then Chair is also like, did you see the missing 411 documentaries? And what do you think? No, add
I
that to my
have.
list. Oh, okay.
Crazy. So it's been a while, but it's basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's talking about these like hikers who are very, very experienced and they just like go missing, like in the woods. So a lot of it, like, I don't remember exactly the areas, but I think Appalachia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was one of those areas that like somebody went missing and they're like, don't know why, so I'll have to like start rewatching it again, but yeah, anything like that, like I've probably seen it. I have.
Yes, send me article and websites. I want to learn about this.
Cave.
And we need to obviously start a channel on the Discord of like all of the paranormal. Right, Sandy? She's like, yesterday it was winter and today it's spring.
Yep. Fall spring, exactly. Full spring. Like it's not really.
It's spring number 1. We're gonna have 8 more of those before the real spring shows up.
Yeah.
Right. And Karen's like, yeah, send it.
Okay, so Kenny Beach disappeared because I'm kind of looking at it with the M Cave thing. So looks like it's in Vegas.
Okay, so Debbie's heard of the 411 from a podcast called Real Life Ghost Stories. It was creepy and unsettling. I have to watch the doc now, right? We're all going to be, instead of a book club, I feel like we need to have a documentary club.
Yes, down. It's pretty much what we're doing now. So.
Kind of, yeah. So everybody's homework before next week is go watch the 411.
Okay, so yeah, it looks like it's by the cave. It's supposed to be in Sheep Mountains. And it's supposed to be south of Area 51. And it looks like, okay, so it says some conspiracy theorists believe that Kenny thought the M Cave was a secret entrance to Area 51, and he was killed or imprisoned to prevent him from revealing any secrets. But then it says, however, it's at least 20 miles away. So people want to know what happened to Kenny. That's what the M Cave is. So that's something I'll have to look into because I actually have not heard of that.
Right. I've heard good things about Mr. Ballin. I need to look him up and listen to him as well. All right. You're right, Deb, because I know you can do that on Discord. Just have to figure the tech out. Everybody watch together on Discord, a live watch party.
Oh, that'd be so fun. I would love that.
At that. Okay. I'm probably not going to get that solved until like middle of February when I come back to Tucson because I leave Sunday.
That's fair. I think that's
fair. And Emily can attest for me yesterday, walking around the store yesterday going, oh shit, I have all this stuff to get done before I leave. And how am I going to get this done? And like, I've got a pretty hard stop at 11 today, which is in 12 minutes because I have a noon appointment, up in Cleveland. So otherwise, and that's the one thing about our streaming software, unlike Zoom, that I can hand off, facilitator. I can't hand off to Emily. Like, keep talking. I don't care.
Right.
So if I were to like remove myself and let you keep going, like it'll still be live and everybody would just be watching like dead screen space. Until I came home, I was like, and
so also everyone bear in mind, so Melissa's going to be gone for 2 weeks and I'm going to be on my own. So be nice to me while I'm in the store by myself. I'm going to do my best. I'm no Melissa, but we will. We'll get it taken care of. Good luck
figuring that out. Well, I mean, because we're 2 hours behind, like I could still organize the live, but if you come into the store and you're like, I have questions of how things work, Emily's going to be like,
well, no assistance from me. Sorry.
And be like, hey, Melissa. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm walking in a field right now. Hey, Mystery. Okay, I might have to get a hold of Mystery on the side and be like, let's do the things.
Help us.
Hey, Firestone. Whoops, there we go. It popped just as I was pushing things. It's like I can teach crochet and tap dance with you, Emily.
Okay.
So we'll have to plan that. Do some watch parties. Because I know you've got you've got Max Plus, I've got
Mhm.
Discovery, and I know they're similar, but I think there's slight differences.
Yeah.
And I have the Paramount, and they've got some
Yeah.
different stuff.
Also, too, for anybody who likes this stuff like Tubi, I never downloaded it because I just assumed like it was free, so there wasn't going to be a lot on there, to be honest. I was pleasantly surprised by how many like cool paranormal shows are on there. Paranormal docs, like there's one about the Dybbuk boxes, Paranormal States on there. So even if you don't have these other streaming services, you could always check out Tubi because, like I said, Henry was actually the one that. So
Found
just get Tubi. It's free. Come on. Like the
The
Lego
wisdom of
movie's
the
on
young
there. Yeah. And I was like, all right, whatever. But I looked, I was like, oh, this is actually okay. So, so thanks, Henry. But yeah, so if anyone, wanted to check that out, but definitely we could try and do a watch party or something. Even the documentaries, yeah, but also even like scary movies and stuff. Down with that. I know Richie probably won't want to join because he doesn't like the horror movies as much, but
It depends for me. I don't do the gore. But
yeah,
the
I'm not like a
psychological scary
Saw.
stuff, yeah.
I
No.
saw a meme though with Saw that cracked me up because it was like it was like, I'll just die. Like, I'm not playing your little games. And I'm like, that would be me. Like,
There is, what is her name? She's on TikTok and Instagram, but she role plays both characters. So it's always the guy with the mask, the guy with her, and he's like, you've got, 2 minutes to cut your leg off. And she's like, I'll just like slit my throat. And he's like, but that's not how it's played. She's like, I don't care. Why would I want to do that?
Yeah,
And so, like,
exactly.
she antagonized into where the torturer always gives in. She's just like, and one of them, she's like, I'm on my period. Do you think that amount of blood bothers me?
Right.
He's
That
like,
is
geez,
so
you want some
funny.
chocolate? So
Yeah, but yeah, not a gore, hairy or scary movie person as much either. I like the paranormal ones, but we could maybe do something like that. But even just to chat in the Discord would be fun. Like, something happens before a week to kind of remember what we're talking about. So
yeah, so we'll have to get that lined out, and I'll take Mystery up on his offer to like, let's sort this out.
yeah.
I haven't touched it in months. So we'll have to get a watch party started when I get back. We'll figure out what we're watching. Maybe if there's a way Mystery in there to like put suggestions and a vote, like who wants to watch what, and then we can start keeping track of what we watch, what we haven't. Some note taking. 33 degrees there where Cat Lady is, right? It is a heat wave. That's what it feels like here too. I think it's going to be around 40 again. So that winter storm that fell like 3 days ago is now just flooding and melting, and now it's mud.
Yeah.
Outside. So, and then next week I'm sure it'll snow again, but I will be in Arizona, where it's not.
Jelly.
But there was, and I'll have to go find it because my uncle told me about this a long time ago. It was done movie style, but it was actually based off true events where this woman had like a ghost that was like just messing with her and her family. So scientists came in and they were trying to trap it. And for like 30 seconds, they froze this thing in midair. So they were able to, was it called The Entity? It was from like early 90s, so it's gonna look horrible, I'm sure, if you go watch it compared to what we're used to seeing. But yeah, like from my understanding, it was based on true like scientists coming out trying to like prove or disprove either way. And so after being there so long, watching what was happening, taking readings, they were like, okay, this is how we think we can actually capture something with it.
And that's similar, I guess, kind of. It's not scientific, but to like the Dybbuk boxes and stuff. So that's sort of something I wanted, if maybe you guys would be interested in that at some point, I would love to like talk about that kind of like the vessels or means of trapping, I guess, because that's something that I've kind of heard about, but never obviously attempted. Like I'm not crazy, but the Dybbuk box stuff would be interesting. And for anyone who wants to, on Tubi, there is a documentary. I don't know how real this is. Okay, I'm gonna preface it by saying this. It's supposed to be a guy that was on YouTube and like opening a Dybbuk box live, and all the stuff that happened was supposed to be live. Now, whether this was staged or not, I don't know, because it was just a normal guy who did it. But really entertaining regardless. So there is like a documentary on the Dybbuk box stuff where a guy opens it up, and I know on Overnight on that channel, there's a lot of stuff with the Dybbuk boxes too, but that might be a topic for another day.
No, definitely. Firestones. Like I went to Arizona once. I got stuck in a winter storm. Yeah. Yeah. A few years ago, I think it was like 3, like we landed in Phoenix and it was like cold. It was like down in the 30s and they were calling for snow. And I'm like, I left Ohio to get away from this.
This is some bullshit.
Yes. You guys don't keep enough blankets around here and your walls aren't very thick because you're used to it being hot. Like you were unprepared for this. But yeah, it can happen. Which
hopefully not this year for you.
No, not allowed. Not allowed. And I was just sitting here thinking though too, and I'm like, depending on how it feels when I get there, I should be like, you know what, we need to do a nighttime live.
Yeah.
And I'll sit outside. Y'all will be my witnesses if I get abducted by aliens or like snatched off screen by something.
I'll give you my K2 meter and dowsing rods to bring down there. I will live vicariously through you.
Right. They don't. They do not know how to handle winter at all. Actually, it seems like after a certain point in the US, anything below Tennessee, like they just
we don't know.
Tennessee go across and anything below that, they're just like, we don't know. We just stay home.
What is this?
Right? Sounds fun. Abducted by, you'll just like see me zoom off screen.
You're on your own.
Right. You're like, well, there goes that live.
Yeah, I'm not coming.
I'm going to need somebody to fly to Arizona, hit the end live button. Happen. So we'll have to plan that out because usually too, by like the second week, I have most of what I need. So then it just becomes like the pricing and the schlepping of the stuff to the pallet. So it's not as tedious all day of like gathering things and maneuvering through crowds. So I'll have more energy by evening time to like sit there and be like, the fuck was that over there? Is that scorpion, javelina, alien, or Bigfoot? Like which one?
We don't know. That's funny.
Well, thanks for joining, guys. And Mystery's like, give me a couple hours to go through your Discord. Thank you, buddy. So we'll have that hopefully lined out soon. Am I already getting? Yep, I'm getting notifications. I think he's already in there kind of working. Bigfoot is alien, right? All the things. It's all the things. And hopefully not a snakeosaur.
Yeah, right. Just as long as it's not that. No.
So yeah, thanks for joining, guys. We'll be back next week for more paranormal 10 a.m. Get some topics lined out, and then tomorrow is the shaman talk and the shaman things. So, and I meant to kind of go into like maybe some of these lands being angry, but you kind of touched on it, like giving offerings. And Sandy and I did that at the Airbnb. We were like, have some wine, have some snacks, have some chocolate, like, don't eat us. We are friends. We come in peace. So we did do that, and it seemed to settle down a bit, but it was kind of like towards the end of the stay. So I'm like, well, if nothing else, the Airbnb owner, hopefully, like if she's been having stuff that she's like, I didn't see that, hopefully it kind of calmed down for her. Yeah. Right. And you're right, Chris. We have the psychotic fair this Sunday in store.
Thank you for reminding us to talk about that.
Chris will be there doing readings, animal readings, tarot readings. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I can see that in Seattle because now you're just freezing over the rain that falls. Thank you, Chair. These are fun topics.
Yeah. We'll definitely be talking more about this stuff. I'm sure I can find some other topics to bring up. So.
Right. So hopefully you guys can join us next week, talk about some paranormal spooky stuff. Yeah. And I'll join you guys from Tucson.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Bye.